At present, there are 4 major party leaders who oppose Brexit. It would have been 5, because Theresa May's deal led me to believe that perhaps she wanted to remain. The current leaders are Ian Blackford, or the Paper Pervert, as many of you will know him, Caroline Lucas of the Green Party, Jo Swinson, the newly elected leader of the Liberal Democrats, who are the largest Remain party in the country. Right. England, yes. Not United Kingdom, though. And the indecisive, perpetual loser that is Jeremy Corbyn. These 4 people have finally agreed to try and block a no deal by, and I'm going to do a drum roll for it, passing legislation in Parliament. Because this worked before, when they tried to block no deal. Repeatedly, in fact. It has been tried to legislate to ban no deal. And every single time, it has failed. Now, these 4 people believe that this time the difference is they are united. And that means their parties will totally agree with them. Wrong. Actually, it's a majority within their parties. Liberal Democrats and SNP, yes. Caroline Lucas being the only Green MP, yeah, sure. Jeremy Corbyn, though, no. Some of his party don't agree with this. It is known they don't because they accept that we are leaving. The terms argument is exhausted at this point. On October 31st, we leave. Caroline Lucas has said that the legislative way forward is the most secure way to try and extend Article 50 to get rid of the 31st of October deadline. At this point, I'm convinced you 4 traitors are doing nothing more than trying to keep us in the EU. Scotland because they want to protect Scotland's interests. The Liberal Democrats because they believe they represent the remainers of the country and the ideologue youth. Not all, of course. Jeremy Corbyn because, well, someone's got their hand up his bottom. He's a bit of a puppet these days. And Caroline Lucas because, I don't know. There have been concerns that I have recently addressed about the Labour leader's proposal to call a no-confidence vote in the government. Under the plan, he would replace Boris Johnson as an interim Prime Minister and call for a snap election and campaign for another referendum. Because best to add a free, everyone, or keep going until we get what we want, not what you want, people. Jo Swinson has said that she only supports a no-confidence vote as a last resort. And if you like, be able to enforce the will of Parliament, but the main proposal is going down the legislative route. Interesting you mention this, because the will of Parliament seems to supersede that of the will of the people. This clandestine meeting that was set up, so clandestine everyone knew it was going on, was attended by SNP, Liberal Democrats, CUC, Welsh Labour and the Green Party. The Labour leader also invited 5 Conservative MPs who oppose no deal, the Ramonas that we have discussed before like Oliver Letwin and Dominic Grieve. Anna Soubry, leader of the CUCs, has described this meeting as excellent. Ian Blackford said that Parliament must grasp this opportunity, unite to stop Boris Johnson shutting down democracy, and be ready to use all mechanisms to block a no-deal disaster, including deploying legislation as a priority. Now, there's a lot more to this. There really is, but democracy is continually going forward, and I fully support it. I think what this does is highlight just how out of touch MPs are with their own constituencies, because then they think of the national, but by doing so, ignoring the very people that voted a different way to what they're saying. SNP, for the most part, yeah, they actually can say, Remain, Remain, Remain. Labour can't. CUCs can't, definitely can't. Liberal Democrats, actually a number of them can't. And most of the Conservatives can't either, because they all come from constituencies that voted Leave. Now this has all gone a bit further to the point where I noticed on my phone this morning a little alert, where the government is to ask the Queen to suspend Parliament, which obviously gets people all up in arms. The intention is for this to happen a few days after MPs return to work in September, and only a few weeks before the deadline. This will make way, supposedly, for a new administration to hold a Queen's speech on October 14th, which means it would be highly unlikely that MPs could pass any law that could stop the Prime Minister taking the UK out of the EU without a deal on the 31st of October. The idea of shutting down Parliament is more commonly known as prorogation, because critics believe it stops MPs being able to play their democratic part in the Brexit process. And I believe there is a legitimate point to this, because I do think a Queen's speech could be delayed. However, it is tradition that they happen at the start of a parliamentary session, or year, whatever you want to call it really. But the timing of it is really bad, and I do think it reinforces the idea that MPs are wasting time when it comes to dealing with certainly the single most important thing going on at the moment for us. So I do tend to take the stance that perhaps it would be wise to delay it, but at the same time I understand the argument and agree also that this just lets MPs even further bemoan to the point where they'll legislate to stop us leaving the EU altogether, making this nothing more than a 3-year pantomime that nobody gets a payoff from.